Hey,
Did you hear?
Did you hear about the new podcast?
Hoy,
What's it called? It's literally called Psst. What?
there's a new podcast
There's a
out
new
right now.
podcast?
It's from Fil-CHA.
Filipinx AO sharing stories together, as in the Psst podcast.
Hello, world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Filipinx AO Sharing Stories Together podcast. Today is October 13th, 2021. This is episode 12, Road to Recovery in All Forms During COVID-19. Now, here's a disclaimer. Information is up to date as of today's recording, live stream on October 13th, 2021. But due to the circumstances surrounding COVID-19, information may have changed by the time you view this episode, so please keep that in mind. Now, about Fil-CHA. Well, the goal of the Philippine XAO Community Health Association, Fil-CHA, was formerly known as the Philippine XAO COVID-19 Resource and Response Team, aka Fil-COVID. And our mission here was to address the health disparities within the Philippine XAO community and provide policy recommendations and resources surrounding the needs of the community. We also aspire to serve as a network for folks, for our people, our diaspora, through collaboration between scholars, organizers, leaders, researchers, social workers, public health advocates, and professionals, clinician, media, and everyone in between. And so, as for introductions, my name is Eddy Gana Jr. My pronouns are they, them. I am originally from Union City, but now based here in Los Angeles, California. And I am a licensed clinical social worker. My expertise is in child and adolescent mental health. I provide family counseling to Filipino families here in LA County through my employer, which is SIPA, Search to Involve Filipino Americans, based in historic Filipino town. Aside from my clinical field experience, I am also an artist. I'm an organizer of Sunday Jump, which is the longest running Filipino founded open mic series in historic Filipino town. And I also do poetry from time to time with my partner, Stephanie. We go by Steady. And so that's a little bit about myself. I'm also joined by my co-host here, Alyssa.
Hey guys, my name is Alyssa Abrenica. My preferred pronouns are she and hers. I'm a third year medical student at Loyola University Chicago. So while my main clinical focus is on immigration and LGBTQ plus health equity, I've always been really passionate about music. And as many Filipinos, I love to sing. I sang at gigs during undergrad, and I presented talks about the actual science behind music therapy as a form of healing. Recently, I have tried painting as a new hobby during the pandemic, and after sharing some pieces on Instagram, I was blessed with a lot of commission requests from social media followers. So since then, my painting commissions have helped fund board exam fees and other costs for medical school. All right, and on that note, we're very excited to also introduce our guest speakers for the evening. Eddy, why don't you introduce?
Yes, of course, of course. And so we have here Gingee. Gingee is a producer, DJ, and vocalist from LA, all fam and community. So with her eclectic dance music, blending sounds from across the globe with percussion and vocals, you got to see it live. Her live set is amazing. Incorporates diverse elements from the Philippine gulintang gongs to finger drumming. And she has also released several EPs and an LP, including 2018 Solstice Equinox, a 4-part project corresponding to each season. And she is also the founder of Magic Garage, an LA-based arts and music collective. So welcome, Gingee. Please introduce yourself further. Let the folks know who you are. What's up?
Hey guys, thank you for the introduction, Eddy. Like he said, I run this collective called Magic Garage. We do art and music shows starting in the community. Actually, we started at my mother's house and she allowed us to throw a show starting in the garage, and that's how we started. And then we just moved on to like bigger venues, and it's been like more than 10 years now. So we have kept that going, but I'm just a art lover, creativity lover. I started out as a spoken word poet as a teen. And I've also had experience teaching after school DJ classes to youth with Youth Policy Institute for about 10 years. So I have a little bit of experience at the nonprofit sector, but I went to school at Pitzer College, and I created my own majors in women of color art and activism and world performance traditions. And yeah, and I'm excited to be here and share like a bunch of tips and ideas to stay creative.
Thank you so much, Gingee, for joining us tonight. I'm going to be so excited to ask some questions for you. And now it's my honor to introduce Janet Co. Janet Co is a Health for Change healer and entrepreneur who has long-term roots as a nature and health advocate since 13 years old. And for over 20 years, she's been an advocate for disadvantaged populations, increased access to public health care, ranging from housing, emergency shelter services for women and children, public health policy to clinicians. And now she is a teacher and trainer for public service professionals to help them learn how to heal themselves, to help people heal the people they serve using powerful nature-based principles of Chinese medicine. As a medical student myself, and all of your causes are so near and dear to me, Janet, it's really such a pleasure to get to have you here tonight. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more as well?
Yes, thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm really excited. And yeah, my practice actually is called Embody Diwa, and it's really helping people to learn how they can use the tools that they already have within themselves to heal themselves and others around them and their families and people that they care about. And so my whole mission is really to help people recreate generational healthcare in a way that's authentic, but also that's very meaningful to you. And that, we know that the healthcare system is broken, but we can't wait for it to change. We can, but let's just go in the driver's seat and have it, let us change it for ourselves and for our loved ones and for our community. And so that's why I'm here. And that's why I've been teaching now and been practicing for over 20 years. And I'm really passionate about what I do. And I feel like healing is creativity, and it's a way to unite all aspects of you, not just your physical, but also your mental, emotional well-being, but also your spiritual well-being. And this is why my practice is called Diwa, because Diwa is about your essence. It's about your nature, your inspiration. It's about consciousness. It's about living. It's about your soul. It's about your spirit. So all of these things are the qualities of what I teach, and using nature as your guide. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I love that, Janet. That holistic take on medicine and healing is really inspiring. Before we begin, I'd like to take a minute for acknowledgements. A big thank you to the Association of Asian Pacific Community Health Organizations, AAPCHO, for making this possible. Also, this podcast was partially funded with generous support from the Wamlight Foundation. Our podcast is also produced in partnership with We Can Do This and the Department of Health and Human Services. So welcome to this episode, you guys. This is the 12th episode of the Filipinx AO Sharing Stories Together series. This one is the road to recovery in all forms during COVID-19. So it directly follows episode 11, which is about the COVID-19 effects on the Filipinx AO biracial and multiracial community. And for this episode, it'll consist, as mentioned, of Eddy as our internal host, as yours truly as the external host, as well as Gingee and Janet Co as our guest speakers. So in this episode, we're going to focus on what healing looks like during COVID-19 beyond the traditional forms of healing. And we hope to address how healing can take form in creative, non-traditional ways, as well as from music to spiritual and mental healing.
And so, thinking about healing and from a holistic sense and just all the different ways that we can explore that, I wanted to ask you both this question on how have you used music, art, creative responses to express yourself, cope, and or heal during the pandemic?
You want to go first, Janet, or should I?
Go ahead, you go for it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can definitely just jump into creativity and get a bunch of art supplies, but before we kind of like jump into that, and I have ton of ideas for you guys, I feel like you need to kind of energetically cleanse yourself, and like kind of energy cleansing is like a technique that is well known within like kind of the spiritual healer community of, to be able to just cleanse yourself and start fresh. so that you can give yourself permission to create. Because I feel like just, living in this world, like we end up carrying around a lot of things that maybe aren't ours, other people's energy, maybe baggage, or maybe some shame that was maybe taught to us that doesn't really belong to us. So I like to use techniques such as there's one called cord cutting, where you can visualize cords falling from your body and like kind of being absorbed around you. And then you end it with kind of a visualization of a white flame inside your chest. I mean, it might sound odd to some people, but visualization really works, and it's been proven scientifically. Like if you visualize something, then like it does have an effect on your psyche. Because I feel like from there you can start making space. Once you let go of the like things you don't need, the baggage, you can make space for the creativity to happen. And you can start tapping more into your intuition, like tapping into what your inner child might want, like maybe, the artistic creative side of you like gets kind of covered over, day-to-day duties, like maybe you're taking care of other people, maybe you're holding space for other people. And like, sometimes you have to, take time for yourself. Like Janet was saying, like, especially people who are healing others, like sometimes we forget to heal ourselves and hold space for ourselves. So I'm very like passionate in that, like, in order to keep going, we also have to replenish ourselves and to be like, well, what do I want to do? Like, maybe I want to just mess around with paints today, or maybe I want to like, I don't know, do crazy makeup. And like, you have to be able to accept, yourself and allow yourself to do this, even if maybe people might laugh at you, or maybe your family would be like, what are you doing? Or, people might make fun of you. And I've been like made fun of, all my life, basically for different things. But, I learned to just let go of what other people think. But I won't go on too long, but I have a short story that I want to share. I won't tell the whole story, but it's from this book called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And it's been kind of like my Bible, and it like basically uses Jungian analysis to analyze fairy tales and folk tales and mythology. And like, if you read this book, you're never going to look at fairy tales the same way again, because actually fairy tales are all about one person's psyche, but different characters. So the bad guy could be you, and the good guy could also be you. But anyway, there's a story called The Red Shoes. And it starts with this girl who's in the forest, and she's wearing handmade red shoes made of scraps of leather that she sewed together. She was very proud of them, even though they were crude and she was poor, right? And then along comes this like rich older woman with this golden coach that says, come inside, I'll take care of you. So she goes, okay, fine, this is hard anyway. So then the woman takes her home, cleans her up, and then she sees the shoes and she like burns them. She's like, you can't have these. These are like, these look ridiculous. They're dirty and filthy and ridiculous. And the girl is sad, but then the woman's like, I'll buy you new red shoes. So she goes and gets new red shoes. And like, long story short, it has a kind of a tragic ending, but I'll just read you a short excerpt right here as the analysis of this. In the tale, we see that the child loses the red shoes she has fashioned for herself, those that made her feel rich in her own special way. She was poor, but she was innovative. She was finding her way. She had progressed from having no shoes to having shoes that gave her a sense of soul, in spite of the difficulties of her outer life. The handmade shoes are marks of her rising out of a mean psychic existence into a passionate life of her own design. Her shoes represent an enormous and literal step towards integration of her resourceful feminine nature in day-to-day life. It does not matter that her life is imperfect. She has her joy and she will evolve. So like just thinking of how can we reclaim our handmade existence and like, just take pride in that. And from there, just have that pride. And, this might not be the perfect painting. This might not be the perfect expression, but it's mine and like I own it. And speaking of imperfection, I feel like, have you ever like gotten a really nice journal with like, maybe that's fancy and you're like, I can't write in this, it's too much pressure, right? So I believe in like kind of lowering the stakes, especially when you're first starting out, like just save the fancy stuff for later. Like maybe start with recycled things or things from the thrift shop that, even like maybe a shirt, I'm going to cut this shirt up and sew it and see what happens. And who cares? It's a recycled shirt. So, you don't have to worry too much about that stuff. So basically just set the stage internally for the creation to happen. And then like, make space for it, literally, inside and out externally, which I'll talk about later.
I love that. I love that, to set the stage, to create genuinely and openly. And thank you also for sharing that piece of literature as well. And just talking about giving ourselves permission to create, to grow, to change. It's okay with the imperfections. Don't have that tie us down. Let's just continue to build and explore, and see what makes us feel whole. So thank you, Gingee, for your insight there. Janet, I'd like to hear from you how you've used art, music, creative responses to express.
Yeah, the big thing is for me is I teach a lot to folks that are interested in this work. And when I use music basically for meditation. I use also just use visualization as well, just like what Gingee was talking about. I do, just dancing on my own, not like professionally, but just moving and engaging in your body and just connecting with it really has been so grounding. And so, unfortunately, in this pandemic, I've lost maybe 3 family members already. And it's been such a tragic time. And so how I use it at that time is like really also just to connect with the grieving as a way of healing, but also connecting with my body and allowing the feelings to come through, because oftentimes in the society we suppress our emotions. And so allowing ourselves to create the space and allow our bodies to breathe and allow it to express itself in ways that can heal is pretty much the calling that I feel like is what we're all seeking as humans. And this is the way creativity and music and art have been able to help me flourish and help me get through this difficult time. And so hopefully that's helpful. But for me, I also just think that the opportunity to heal is always at any moment. And it's nothing that you achieve. It's nothing that, if there's not like necessarily end goal, it's the journey. It's literally in any moment, like what we're doing right now, anything that we're sharing is a healing moment. And this is part of the things that I try to teach and instill with people as well. So hopefully this is helpful.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing all of that, by the way, sharing your vulnerability about how you're healing through your grief and everything. Both of you guys are kind of tying into this theme of reclamation of self by destroying your expectation of yourself, the external thoughts of what is expected of you. And I think I would echo that with you guys. I think creativity and the act of doing something, manifesting your thoughts, manifesting your feelings into a form of a product that is yours is one of the easiest ways, I think, to destroy those expectations. If you really let yourself, right? Like letting your creative energy truly be purely creative and truly being something that is just your essence coming out into something, some form of medium, whether it's, like you said, dancing or Gingee's music or just whatever it is. And I do find that so profound. I think that humans, we truly do have a creative energy that we underrepresent in our societies. My mother has always said this. She's said this to me. She's like, the key to live a happy life is that you must create something every day. And I notice it in myself when I'm not creating something. I can tell I'm getting more tense. I'm getting more, all those things. And to just back up what you guys have said before, there's actually research done on this. There's research done in the Neuron Journal where even just like listening and making a verbal attempt to sing or hum, just that creation can help the brain form new pathways and actually destroy other like negative pathways that your brain has created in the past. So it actually is healing to create in that sense. So thank you guys for all your input on that so far. Moving on to the next question. We'd love to know, so what are some ways that we as a community or as individuals, what are ways that we can use creative and other outlets outside of traditional healing to recover and express ourselves or cope? Janet, why don't you take the floor for this one first?
So the way that we as a community can do is that what I've been doing that has been really hugely helpful is actually when I engage in healing with others, like in the community with other people that you care and love about in community, that's been such a healing gift in itself. And where you don't have to just do it on your own. You could actually share space and healing space with other people. And even if it's imperfect, and do it together, and literally riding the waves of all the changes that are happening in this pandemic. And that in itself has been huge, and that we can create together. It doesn't always have to be in isolation, because in this culture, unfortunately, we are taught to suppress, but we're also taught to look outside of ourselves in terms of looking out for substances to help us cope or heal. But also we are always looking for a solution, like a quick fix solution. And so unfortunately, these things just add on to the suppression. And but when we can allow to really look introspectively within ourselves, but also notice how we're connected with other people in the community, also in unity, then we can really heal together. It becomes like this domino effect. And you know, you don't even have to, you're just being in the presence, just literally like being like in this space, we're sharing space together, is definitely a form of healing right at this moment. And that we're sharing it with other folks that are sharing this space with us too. And so this is a healing moment right there. And this to me is part of that creation and that creativity that all of you here have invited us to share in this space. And so so that's just literally, you could just do it with one other person in your home, or just someone that you work with. Just start there and play together and really be inspired to create in that way. So hopefully that answers your question too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like not in isolation, in collaboration. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Gingee.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that creativity can be found in so many different forms. It's not necessarily like a traditional form like painting or music even necessarily. It can be cooking, it can be in the way you dress, it can be in the way you carry yourself and how you work with other people. So I think just taking away those like you said, expectations of what creativity can be is important as well. Because there's a lot of people who are like, I'm not creative, like, you know, but if you can walk and talk, you can be creative, and it doesn't have to be perfect either for you to benefit from the therapeutic, you know, benefits from it. So I'm just going to kind of launch into this list I've made of like different techniques that I came up with, like a lot of them during the lockdown during the pandemic. But I just believe that like you said, if we have a space for creativity, you're going to fill that space with something. If you make a container, you know, so make containers for your creativity, remove the obstacles to your creativity, prepare for creativity. Even if you don't feel like being creative in the moment, you can set aside a small space and put your art supplies out. That's one micro step that you can take. I'm all about small steps. You know, if today all you can do is I'm going to draw one circle, but that's something, then that's one step closer to making a painting, if that's what you want to do. So I'm all about those little micro steps. If it's like, I'm going to learn this new software, I'm going to read one page of the, you know, the manual today, you know, so just small like steps make it easier to break it down. The other thing I came up with was this concept called creation stations, or like opening the channels. I just kept in my mind, I was like, open the channels, like, because I live in a small space. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. So I had to just like rearrange my space a lot and figure stuff out. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make a painting or visual art station over here. And I can make like a beat making station over here. And then I can like have like drums over here. And then I could have maybe like fun, funky costumes and like kind of dress up stuff, you know, like, so that you could just
talk about making a space.
Yeah, you could go around and just like, you know, have fun with yourself or someone else. Like you could just be like, open the channels. You could even do that with kids, you know.
Just as vital as your kitchen.
Yeah, or you know, it could be a food thing. Like today we're gonna like cook, you know, in the theme of a movie or something, like, and dress up. I don't know, like it sounds stupid and silly, it might, but it could actually like spark something within you. Like, hey, this could actually be like a business plan. Not that it has to
Yeah,
be.
that's
a business plan,
beautiful.
but it could. That's how it starts with play. I really believe in that. I mean, that's how my whole career started with, I'm just going to try this and put this together. But like you could take yourself on a field trip, an artist date. A thing that I did was I had these jars, right, of ideas. Like one of them was places to go or do PE, physical, exercise. And one was like ideas for projects. And then other one was a theme. So you could like pick out a theme in a project. Oh, I'm working on this today. Or like, if you're out of ideas or whatever, it's a good, fun way to like stimulate that. Another thing is like humor. I feel like humor is so essential. Like you have to like laugh. I feel like it's just good for you physically. And there's probably like studies that back that. But like, I was just doing silly things like feeling lonely and making up imaginary friends like Squashy. No, it was funny. I just started drawing on vegetables and like, I was like, yeah, I'm making beats with Squashy. And like, I like posted it and someone ended up like talking about that on like another mental health podcast of using humor as a tool for, mental health. What else? Like use your imagination, like tap into that inner child. Like, let's make this a fake cafe or a fake restaurant, or like, let's decorate the walls and make it look like a forest. Or I know Janet talks about like using nature a lot. I was going camping, like practically like every other weekend, just because I needed to get out into nature and like take field trips. One other thing, like you could be like, you know what, I'm sick of working inside. Let's do outdoor office today. Like, let's bring our laptops and go work at the park, or you could do a thing I like to call artcation, which is like a little small kit of like maybe watercolor stuff. And you can go around and do little watercolors or journal. I'm all about writing stuff out. Like you got to like let it out. And like, I know like working with people is great too, but you can't always vent to your friends all the time. So it's kind of helpful to me to vent on paper. And I'll get more into that. But the last thing I'll share is I do music, and I was kind of like trying to do music in here, but I live in an apartment building and I can't make the noise I want to make. So I ended up just renting a studio and like, just paying the money to rent a studio so I can make noise. So that's been very good for like, that's my shrink. That's my therapy right there. Just go and make noise. Like, because otherwise then I just feel like, oh, I can't express myself. I have to be quiet. So yeah, just find a solution, remove the obstacles.
I always find it so interesting whenever I speak to artists about the way that they have to create their mindset for their work. Because for me as a medical professional, or hoping to be, training to be one, I feel like sometimes it's the opposite. For us, we are constantly putting our energies into how can we think in an algorithm? Like if it's this, then this, then this, then this. My brain is literally always thinking in boxes that then go into like little webs. And how can I make sure I'm memorizing and honing into these particular skills analytically all the time? And when I talk to artists, it's the energy is more focused towards how can I get my brain to literally destroy any and all boxes and keep creating new ones and keep having new mindsets and new ways every day to just make the catalyst of creation that much easier. And yeah, and all the things that you mentioned, especially space. I noticed that for artists, it's very important for you guys to have a space that feels conducive to your art and to your content. It's just, I find it just so fascinating because I think the way that you have to open up your channels, as you said, is very, very different than the way that we have to in medicine, where it's like, make sure that you're like as regimented as possible.
Well, both are important, but it's important that we learn from each other. So, we can learn all the aspects of being human, together.
I agree. And I think that there is something that can be said about the importance of broadening that up. I was in a small group and they asked, what are the key traits and qualities that you would want your doctor to be? I said creative, and no, everyone else is like, what? Why would you want them to be creative? You'd want them to be diligent, and you'd want them to be really analytical and really intelligent and all those things. But kind of going back to what Janet said, there is such healing in the spaces that are created like this. There is really something to be said about how healing the human connection is. I think that's something that doesn't matter what specialty you're in medicine, you're always going to need to know how to connect with a fellow human, especially in their biggest time of need.
And I also think that for a lot of diseases, there are emotional reasons underlying sometimes diseases.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're sick because you eat too much, maybe fat or something, but why do you eat too much fat? Because of this emotion. Maybe you need to be creative to get that emotion out, so it's all linked.
That, and also I do think
Holistic.
that about, Janet mentioned something about compassion as a form of creativity. Like, compassion is creative. To find new ways to think and understand other people is a creative aspect. And I think, as you mentioned, you first started, you were saying creativity doesn't have to stem from us just painting and doing, fine arts or performing. It comes in the people that we talk to. It comes in the new connections and the ways that we ask questions to one another, the ways that we can perceive other people. And I think that in and of itself can be healing as well, for ourselves and for other people, by validating their experiences, by understanding them better.
Right. And so like with creativity, right, that what's awesome about being creative and imagination, and you both spoke on this, is that it is a liberating, that it has you go outside of the box, and it's okay to go outside the box. It's okay to play, play outside of the sandbox, go ahead and run around, do your thing, go into those stations, find what works out for you, right? Because everyone functions differently. That's why it's very important for me, from a clinical social work background, it's important to have individualized treatment plans, and just like different ways that people can cope. Not everyone will function from an evidence-based practice. We got to think about indigenous practices. We got to think about the arts, all the ways for us to make us feel whole. And so just thinking about all that put together, and the idea of spaces, safe spaces, right? I wanted to ask you both, what are some creative spaces that you have found useful for you and your community to get involved, right? So talking about not in isolation, but in collaboration, as I mentioned earlier. And Janet also touched upon it. So maybe Janet, you'd like to touch on this?
So I have participated in like retreat-like settings, and like you could just create it on your own. Like you don't even have to like literally, like nowadays you could do everything online like this. Or also just being part of healing circles where people are just openly connecting and sharing with one another. So other groups are things like, one of the things that I do is like help people do clearing and cleansing using the seasons as a way to help you align with nature, to learn the nature principles, and then how can you do that energetically, because I play with energy, but also things like, we can do things together where we're engaging in our body practice, where we're doing things like emotional freedom technique. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's so much studies on that now that really just helps even validate even more of the medicine that I do and teach, even more so that it's really great for depression, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, all these different things. And it's just a simple technique. You're just using the acupuncture meridian system, but using your fingertips, knowing that you're healing, and you're healing yourself with these endpoints in the meridian system. And you literally can do this in minutes. It's a great intervention, but also prevention and promotion technique. And we could actually share space in that together to be able to do that together as well. So I don't know, right now I'm just like thinking those things. Hopefully that's answering the question, but yeah, so
that's so interesting. Like, how do you do it?
Oh, how do you do it? Yeah, the emotional freedom technique. Yeah, so
please share. Educate. Educate the community.
Yeah, well, what's great about it is that it's all rooted in the Chinese meridian system, which are literally these energetic pathways that run through your body, the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And we're using these endpoints of the meridian system, which I mean where you have easier access to the pathways to use your own energy to help facilitate and interrupt a response. And so if we're talking about something like an intervention that needs to happen. So like you had an argument and you're really pissed off and you're feeling really tense that you really want to calm down your autonomic nervous system. One quick way you could literally do it is just use your face and the top of your upper body, and we can do these points. So all you have to do is use the tips of your fingertips to actually use your own energy, like how you use your phone, because your phone can't work without your own energy, and you tap these points. So for example, if you wanted to do it together, I don't know, did you want to do that? But
let's go in. Let's
okay,
go
you want to go in?
All right, let's go
Okay.
in. All right, in community, here we go.
So like if you're feeling stress or you're having some anxiety, let's just say that I'm pissed off, and you feel it in your chest. You could feel it in your chest. It feels tight. You might have a hard time breathing. You want to tune in to what's happening in the body physically. And then you want to also rate it typically, so you get a sense of how that is. So like maybe I'll say it's a 6. And then how you do with the points, you actually start tapping this way. So you use it's like the karate chop point. And you do this statement where it just helps you reset the body, where you say, even though I feel pissed, I love and accept myself. Even though I feel pissed off, I love and accept myself. Even though I feel tightness in my chest, I love and accept myself. And then you do the same points here. You could start right here, right at the inner part of the eyebrow. You tap with your fingertips again. You could just use 2 fingertips if you want. And just say, right now, I feel pissed off. And then you go outside of the eyebrow, and it feels really tight in my chest. And you go under the eyes, and it feels like I have a hard time breathing, having a full breath. And then you go under the nose, and I am having a headache. And then you go under the lip, the bottom lip where the chin is. And I really want to let this go right now. And then you want to go right at the collarbone, right at the inner part. It's pretty much where there's a depression right near the end of the collarbone right here. And you just tap that and say, I really want to let this go now. And then you go into the chest, kind of right where the bra line is, and on both sides. And so you just basically say, I just really want to let this go now. And then you go top of the head, and then you just take a nice deep breath. I'm going to let this go now. And then you do another round saying, I am letting this go now. Then you just do this whole round outside of the eyes, then under the eye, then under the nose. And then I'm letting this go now. Like it's like you're basically talking through it as you're tapping, and it really helps interrupt the system. So it really opens up those endorphins, those feel-good neurotransmitters that you're feeling, to help you release the tension in that moment. And you could keep doing that. It literally could just take a few minutes when you really get into it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how long do you typically take to do that? You say a few minutes, but could it be longer? And
it could be longer, just depending on the gravity of how much tension you're feeling in that moment. But it doesn't even have to be just in the moment, but it could be something like you got triggered, but it made you go back to the past, and it made you think about maybe something traumatic from the past, and you wanted to help you get through it, and you just keep going. Like you're talking to yourself, you're actually allowing yourself to create the space, and you're using your body to help you, to communicate, to help you, and then it calms the system. So then you start to calm down, and you'll notice that there's a difference between your own rating from when you started and when you ended. So yeah, it's really easy. Sometimes you don't even have to think about the statements. You just do it on here on those points, and then you could really calm down.
I like it because you could do that anywhere. You could do that in your car.
Yes.
You do that, like
in the shower.
The shower. Yeah, anywhere.
Yes, it's portable. You have it.
It's portable. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. So we got that self-care in, all of us here. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you are taking those notes and, to rewatch the recording and to do this activity with us again. Thank you, Janet. Gingee, also creative spaces that you have found useful for you and your community to get involved.
Okay. Well, just to kind of continue the conversation we were having, like, to just be aware of when you're having kind of what I call a relapse moment. Because I suffer from like anxiety and depression as well. And so I have to like be vigilant with myself in tuning into my emotions, and like the EFT technique, I've used that before to kind of like a way to purge those emotions or just to express them. And that's just like one tool that you can use, and when you realize you're having kind of an episode or something, you can pull out your toolkit, so to speak. So that's one of them. And like writing is another big one for me, like just being in my journal, writing my thoughts, and like not censoring myself. And no one's going to read this, it's not on the internet or anything. Like you can just do what you can throw yourself a pity party, so to speak, but put a time limit, like 5 minutes. I'm just going to, whine about whatever's going on and like get it out. And then like, I'm going to get it out and let it go. Right. But yeah, it's good to just check in, whether it's with yourself through writing, or meditation, or with a friend. Call a friend. There's no shame in saying, hey, I need to talk, or like, do you have a minute to chat about something? Things like just taking extra good care of yourself with your diet, exercise, stepping away from social media, just to like get perspective, step away from the problem, and like go to nature. Nature is always a healer for me. And these are all like good things to just keep in mind, like if you ever like have a freak out or something. But yeah, spaces and resources, like I mean, there's like a lot of free places you can go, like the library is one of them. We have some beautiful libraries in our community. There's like gardens, like there's meditation gardens, and like they also usually have free days as well if you look on their website. You could go look up who's doing like a sound bath. That's a cool like meditation, like people who do crystal singing bowls and stuff. And there's a lot of that I know in Southern California. There's this place called Wisdom that has a dome with like really cool projection, 360 degrees projection, and they do sound baths. And I did that, and that was really healing. And there's also like underground art communities, like the one that I do with Magic Garage, where it's like, it just started with a bunch of friends who like, let's do an art show. And you could do that with your friends. Like, it could be very informal, like, okay, in 1 month, let's just have some pieces ready and put them on the wall, and we'll have some wine and cheese. Boom, there you go, it's an art show. It doesn't have to be like, we're part of the art world, academia, and all, you can be, but like, it doesn't have to. So there's a lot, actually, that you can pull like resources from your own community and like just make stuff happen on your own. Even if there's like maybe only 10 people that show up, who cares? It's like, it's healing, and it's like a step towards the right direction. So there's also like communities online, obviously, like if you're trying to like even learn a certain piece of software or like certain kind of technology, there's like all kinds of like forums on there that you can join and like, take part in and like find support there. So like
Reddit,
like
like
Reddit
Facebook
or
groups.
yeah,
Like,
Facebook group. I run a Facebook group called Global Filipino Creatives, and we
Right.
post like different art projects and stuff. You can check that out. And also, just a quick promo, Magic Garage is throwing a show this Sunday in Pasadena. It's going to be a big art and music show, and we're having a thing called the Kapwa Jam, where we're bringing out some kulintang and percussion players, gong players, and we're going to invite people to do a drum circle with us. And drum circle is something I've been finding a lot of healing in lately too. Like I just pass out instruments to people, and like they just start playing them, and it's been really like fun and healing. And yeah, and like I have my like selenite right here. I don't know if you believe in crystals. You could say it's just a rock, but they say that this is good for cleansing and clearing yourself. And like, if that's a good reminder for you, cleanse and clear yourself, then why not, right? So I just I have that. I have like some oracle cards here. Like this is a cool one, Work Your Light. I don't know if you find this corny or what, but it's just cute sometimes to like pull.
It's valid, Gingee. Yeah.
Modern Guide to Energy Clearing. Like I have a bunch of these crystals for psychic self-protection. They say like, certain stones protect you, and then you have to cleanse them. It's like a whole thing. This book is cool, Keep Going, Austin Kleon. I like his books. He also did Steal Like an Artist. The War of Art. This is like, I'm ready to go hard, go hardcore, like no excuses. Like it's pretty cool. And then the one I read from earlier was Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is the one that analyzes folk tales and fairy tales. So yeah, there's a lot you can pull from. You can like pull from the seasons, the phase of the moon. Right now, like the moon is waxing, it's getting fuller. So it's a good time to manifest stuff and like set intentions for like what you want to bring into the world. When it's waning or decreasing, it's a good time to release stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of different like kind of pathways you can take, and I'm just kind of sharing a bunch with you. If anyone wants to hit me up, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to share more. Yeah, like even right now, like it's October, it's fall, we're getting, you know, the veil is thinning, we're getting closer to like, you know, that line between, you know, our ancestors, and like it's a good time to honor your ancestors. Like there's a lot of like different, you know, kind of traditions you can pull from and like have fun with. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I actually did want to follow up with that. I know we're talking about non-traditional forms of healing. You definitely mentioned a lot of things that aren't necessarily recognized by like Western medicine and things like that. And I want to see what Janet has to say about that in regards to in the spaces for her. What kind of spaces do you create, and do you feel like, do you get some pushback with the medical community? How do you react to those things?
Yeah, great question. I would say in the beginning when I was first starting out, in terms of feeling pushback with, you know, thinking this is a woo-woo medicine, and, you know, it's a little out there, or all of these things. And so I think when it really shifted for me is when I just decided to just sit in the back, sit not in the back seat, sit in the front seat, and say like, you know what, this is what I've chosen to be my career in my profession, because I totally believe in it. And there's so much wisdom in this medicine. It's so much older than Western medicine. And there's so much, for me, wisdom, that's history. And so I feel like that what kept me going to really to push forward or move forward, and to start actually teaching people about this. And I was really thrilled that there was some interest, and I wasn't sure that people were used to, because when I was having my private practice, I was treating people like how you would go to a medical clinic, but using different things like acupuncture needles and all that stuff. But it felt still a little bit like Western medicine, the way it was, or the way I was taught to do it, because you have a treatment room and then you do these things which are different, and it's still in line with Chinese medicine. But I wanted something that had more of community, and also a learning community where people really wanted to learn about nature and the principles of nature, versus like you treat me and you fix me, and then go about my day. Then I go back to work, I do the same things, and I come back and get the same treatment. And I was getting kind of tired of that. And so that's why I decided to venture out and explore other avenues, or create a new way of, or model of care that I felt was relevant based on my past experience. And I thought teaching people with tools, knowing that you all have healing capabilities to start with, is where I start from. And so yeah, and so that's, and so yeah, so I just, you know, try to teach people like how to use nature in various ways, where I do a lot of so just to kind of Alyssa, like you're talking about, like when you're in med school, and you know there's this certain kind of thinking, and there's ways you could go around about that, where I literally use imagery in everything that I do. So even though when I'm teaching and helping people, like when I actually read things, I actually draw it, or to really help me consolidate it, or to create images about like studies that I've learned that prove why this works. And I create imagery around it, and actually do that through a journaling practice. But then when I teach, I also have a lot of visuals more than words. Yeah. And so those things, it makes me use those tools like practically, but you're engaging in those techniques already that are innate within you to help you. And so, yeah, so hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully I didn't go on tangent.
Oh, definitely. I definitely think that learning different ways to see the same concept has definitely shown me that's when you really know a concept for sure. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have something to add to that real quick. I have a quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he does a lot of stuff like on the brain and how to rewire your brain and how to manifest what it is that you want in life by he backs it up with science too, which is cool. He has a quote: by beginning to mentally rehearse new ways of being, you start rewiring yourself neurologically to a new mind. And the more you can remind yourself, the more you'll change your brain and your life. And that makes sense to me because, you know, sometimes you have to just put yourself in that mental state of like, I can like overcome this, and like, I'm going to think positive, like, you know, instead of just like being down on yourself and like negative self-talk. And, you know, I'm guilty of it too. Everybody does it, but it's just good to like remind myself, oh yeah, if we want to create, you know, if we want to manifest this outcome, we have to live within that reality, like mentally, so that we can rewire our brain. And, you know, like I deal with things like, you know, being addicted to screens, and like, you know, sometimes I do look for external validation or whatever through social media. And like, I have to catch myself and be like, look, like you don't need any external validation. And like the most important validation is your own validation. Although community validation is also important, obviously, but you should feel okay within yourself, you know, first and foremost. But I just wanted to share that.
I love that quote. Do you mind putting that in the chat? I want to make sure that I remember it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you guys so much for all your thoughts about all these things. I'd love to hear from your own words. What are some main takeaways that you guys have about all the things that we talked about today?
For me, that healing comes in many forms, and that it's, again, it's not something, it's something that's really accessible. It's something that you can use in any moment. And so, I really feel like the opportunity it just confirms that you could really heal at any moment, and that you can quickly do that as well. And it's very accessible. That's the biggest takeaway for me.
Thank you so much. How about you, Gingee? What are some main takeaways for you from here?
For me, start with like getting your energy cleared somehow, like just like you take a shower, you know, you just like kind of mentally like cleanse yourself, or physically, emotionally cleanse yourself, whether that's going into nature, whether that's doing a visualization or some other type of energy clearing practice to let go of all the things we carry around in life that maybe don't belong to us. And then the other thing is like using these intentional techniques to develop like creativity, making space for your creativity, getting what you know, the things that you might need to be creative, and like lowering the stakes so that, you know, it's not too high pressure, especially at the beginning. And also recognizing like when you're maybe having a relapse moment, or you're having some type of, you know, depression, or just being in tune with yourself to be like, okay, maybe I'm like going down a wrong bad path right now, and I need to kind of nip that in the bud by pulling out these tools, like such as, you know, using EFT, or maybe doing something that makes your inner child happy, or like maybe just going for a walk. You know, it's up to you to be tuned into what you need. And have these tools available to you that you can pull from. Like maybe I need to write it out, or maybe I need to meditate, or maybe I need to, you know, clear my energy. So there's so many different things that you can do, but you're the person that's going to know you best and what you might need. And then, you know, we're here to help you and have those options of like different ways of healing, whether it's by yourself or with someone. Like I mean, if you need professional help, like I say, go get it. Like if you need somebody to heal you, sometimes you need someone else to hold space for you, you know? Exactly, you can't always do it all on yourself. Personally, I kind of try to do all myself just because that's how I am. But sometimes, you know, it's important to, you know, get that help that you need or just talk it out with somebody.
Beautiful. And so, yeah, just thinking about, right, encouraging self-help and other supportive strategies, talking about having it be accessible. And you both shared a variety of techniques and strategies and safe creative spaces that you have either held yourself or created on your own for others. And so I hope that folks who are tuning in are taking notes and are able to rewatch and rewatch and rewatch again, because there's so many gems that are here, right here, shared by Gingee and Janet. And so thank you both for your knowledge, for your time, for allowing us to share this space together in this virtual platform, and you know, to educate others, because it's very important that we keep the movement going, the dialogue going when it comes to taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other.
Yeah.
And,
or even like the space you do, Eddy.
Yeah.
You know, Sunday Jump, that's a healing
Yeah.
space right there where people do an open mic and they express themselves. So
thank you, Gingee. Thank you. Yes, Sunday Jump, definitely, from Sunday Jump to Magic Garage, to going out in nature, like whatever makes you feel whole, and you know, all the spaces, you know. And so thank you. Thank you, Gingee. And so yeah, so as we come to a close, as I mentioned, like there's so many gems here. So thank you all for tuning in. And so want to also then give a heads up of what to expect next for our podcast here. And so this year's episode 12. Next one is our 13th episode. Believe it or not, we started a couple months ago. Oh my gosh, it's been so long already. So we're already on episode 13. So next episode will be about immigration and resources for mixed status and undocumented Philippine XAO during COVID-19. This will be on Wednesday, October 27th, from 6:30 to 7:30 Pacific time. I'll be hosting. Also, Aki Versosa will be there, Madison Villanueva, and Madeline Villanueva. So please come and join us. Be sure to follow us and to stay connected.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And for those listening, be sure to follow us on social media at FILXAO_CHA and like us on Facebook. Thank you guys so much again, Gingee and Janet, for all your thoughts tonight. And thank you to AAPCHO, the Walmart Foundation, as well as the We Can Do This and Department of Health and Human Services in this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good rest
All right, have a good night. Take care. Ingat lagi.